Welcome to the Lathisms podcast. I'm Evelyn Lamb. In each episode, we invite a Hispanic or Latinx mathematician to share their journey in mathematics. Today, I'm happy to welcome Ivelisse Rubio to the show. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Evelyn.
So can we start with, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're working, your field, that kind of thing?
Sure. I work at the University of Puerto Rico, the Rio Piedras campus, and I work in the computer science department, although my formation is in mathematics. And I do work, and my research work is in number theory. I work with problems involving finite fields.
And your degree is in applied mathematics, right? So is this kind of applied number theory, or have you drifted a little bit since you got your degree?
Maybe I will call it applicable number theory. No, it's not applied number theory. It's applicable. Sometimes I do applications to coding theory and to cryptography, but it's mostly theoretical work.
Okay. Can you tell us maybe a little bit about what kinds of problems you might work on in that?
Sure. For example, we work on systems of polynomial equations, which is one of the most important problems in mathematics, trying to solve a system of polynomial equations. But these equations are over finite fields. And we try to determine conditions on the system to make sure that the system is solvable, that it guarantees that there is a solution. And this can be applied to coding theory and to cryptography, where coding theory is the theory that corrects errors in communication that occur accidentally. And cryptography, is the area of mathematics that tries to hide information from intruders.
Right. So that's the applicable part of it.
Exactly.
So backing up a little, what inspired you to become a mathematician?
Well, I always enjoy math, and I was considering originally studying computer science, and at that time, this was back in the early 80s, the computer science courses were taught in the math department, and so I started taking mathematics courses, but because actually that was the degree has to be in mathematics, and I discovered that I liked math much more than computer science, so I stayed as a mathematician. And I thought that I wanted to be a mathematics teacher at the beginning, but then I was given the opportunity to work on research as an undergraduate, which is a rare opportunity. In the 80s was a rare opportunity. And I really enjoy the challenge of solving math problems. And I decided that I was going to pursue then a master's degree. And at that time, that was the highest degree offer in Puerto Rico. And at that time, then I was still thinking that I'm becoming a math teacher. But then I focused more. I love the university. So I wanted to start to stay working at the university, and for that I needed to complete a PhD degree.
So did you do all of your education in Puerto Rico, or did you come to the mainland U.S. for that, or go to a different country?
No, I did my bachelor's and my master in Puerto Rico, and that was the highest degree in Puerto Rico. So for the PhD, I went to Cornell University, but I waited about 3 years from when I finished my master's to work on the PhD because of different reasons. I thought that I was not well prepared. I thought that I didn't want to leave the island. I was not very good in communicating in English, so there were many excuses not to continue to the PhD right away.
And how did you manage to overcome maybe your internal worries about that kind of thing in order to decide to go pursue it?
Well, actually, I think that the motivation came from wanting to do more things here in Puerto Rico and not being able to do more things because I was not prepared enough. I didn't have the background that I needed, and so it was actually more that the motivation for doing things that I needed the degree more than the challenges or the worries that I had. I had them when I was leaving, but the motivation then was greater.
And were there people who encouraged or discouraged you from pursuing mathematics?
I think that I have always been encouraged to study math. My master's advisor, Oscar Moreno, encouraged me to pursue a PhD. And everybody here at the University of Puerto Rico encouraged me to pursue a PhD. And actually, I got a scholarship from the University of Puerto Rico to do that. And then later on, during the PhD, at the end of the PhD, when I was working on the thesis, maybe I got discouraged a little because I was not focusing on my research. I was involved in many other activities, and my advisor told me that I had to decide if I really wanted to complete the PhD, and that was a wake-up call. I then set a deadline and work really, really hard to get results by a certain deadline, and I was able to do it and completed my thesis and graduated.
And did you have mentors or other people that you looked up to in mathematics?
Yes, I had many mentors. My first mentor was Oscar Moreno, my master research advisor at the University of Puerto Rico. And also at the University of Puerto Rico, I received a lot of support from Pablo Negron, which was another professor at the math department. People that I look up to, Ana Elvia Quintero. She was the only Puerto Rican woman that I knew that had a PhD in a math-related area and that was active on research at that time. So she was a good role model, and not only because of the preparation that she had and the research that she was doing, but also because she was doing that while being very active socially and culturally. That was very important to me. Then when I moved to Cornell University, I was always motivated by Bernd Stonfels. He introduced me to the area of Grosvenor bases, which was pretty new at that time. And I received a lot of support from my PhD advisors. I had two advisors. One is Moss Swidler, and the other was Chris Heger. Then when I was finishing my PhD, I met Herbert Medina, who was a young mathematician that was at Cornell University starting a summer program. And then we decided that we wanted to start an RU in Puerto Rico, research experience for undergraduates in Puerto Rico. And actually we did. We got funding from NSF and NSA. And in 1998, 6 months after I completed my degree, we started the Summer Institute in Mathematics for Undergraduates in Puerto Rico at one of the campuses of the University of Puerto Rico. And that was the most rewarding experience that I have ever had. But then I did no research for 5 years. So I graduated and I stopped doing research. And then other people that were good mentors, specifically for working on research, were Cora Sadowski and Idalia Ramos. They both encouraged me to work on research. Cora was an inspiring woman. She was very strong encouraging people to work on research. And at some point she told me that if I wanted to do something for Latinos and women, I had to be an example for them being a good Latina female researcher. So they both inspired me to get away from the stereotype of women being teachers and Latinos working on outreach to also include research as something else that is not so traditional, or maybe it's not part of the stereotype. And I love being a teacher, and I love doing outreach, but their encouragement made a difference. And I then decided that I was going to work hard to become a researcher after 5 years of doing no research.
Yeah, well, I'd imagine that's difficult because you're kind of pulled in so many different directions, and maybe spread a little thin, so it's very hard to decide exactly where you want to spend your time.
Well, actually, yes, at some point, I had to say no to things that I really like, because as I said, I love teaching. But if I wanted to be seen as a researcher, since there is a stereotype of women doing things related to education, I started to say no to different things that I was asked to do, and dedicate myself for some time to do research. I'm now doing a little bit of everything, but after some years I did that, and then as a researcher, I have been inspired by Skip Mapstone, who's an emeritus professor at Syracuse University, and Gary Mullen from Penn State, and my research partner, Francis Castro. And of course, Oscar Moreno has always been an inspiration during all my math journey. But yeah, I had to somehow force myself to not do the things that I really like in order to develop as a researcher.
Right. And did you always know that you wanted to go back to Puerto Rico after you were finished with your PhD?
Definitely. Definitely.
So that was not a hard decision?
No. That I was very, very clear that the reason why I was doing my PhD and I went to the US was because I wanted to come back and do things in Puerto Rico, actually related to education, no? Then I switched to the REUs, but that was the reason why I was there. And as soon as I finished, I came back.
And at this point, I assume the University of Puerto Rico does offer the PhD degree?
Yes.
And we're recording this a little under a year after Hurricane Maria. Of course, that's something that's been on people's minds a lot for the past almost year. How are things at the university since that happened?
We are still recovering, but we have learned to keep going no matter what. At some points, we teach outside the classrooms because there is no power, and then we teach outside. But I think that things are pretty normal right now, and we have a lot of energy, and we overcame that. And I think that actually I'm more worried now about other type of hurricanes that are not natural disasters that are coming to the university, like budget cuts and that type of things. I think that that's going to be a lot worse than the hurricane.
Okay. I guess this is the beginning of the hurricane season again, though, so...
Yes.
So what advice do you give to students who are interested in a math career?
I think that is very important that Hispanic students keep working on mathematics and also on computer science. Math and computer science are very important for the new next generation. So we need to develop more culture of math and computer science among our people. And yes, to go is not an easy area to work on. But it's good to set high standards, to have high expectations, and to get out of our comfort zones and just work really hard to achieve the goals. There is a lot of talent in the Hispanic community, and we have just to discover that talent and develop it.
Are you particularly excited about any projects or initiatives that either that you've been involved in or not that help bring more Hispanic and Latinx students to math?
Oh, yes, definitely. The REUs, the research experience for undergraduates, are excellent for our communities. There is one that I was involved also in the creation, and I'm very fond of. It's the MSRI-UP. That's the Mathematical Sciences Research Institute undergraduate program at Berkeley. that's an excellent opportunity for undergraduates to work on research for 6 weeks during the summer and also to develop many other skills.
Right. And I think at least one other person who's been on the podcast is also involved with that, Federico Ardila, and perhaps some other people as well.
Yes. Federico is one of the directors now of MSRI.
So is there anything else you'd like to share kind of as an ending tidbit?
Just as I said, to work really hard, to have high expectations, and not get discouraged if things do not go well. We have a different perspective to offer. We can see things from a different point of view, and this is good. This is good because this gives a new approach to different problems, and this actually has been very productive for me. When I face a problem that is new for me, I just go with a lot of intuition, and some things I see things that other people don't see. So do not get discouraged and work hard and keep going.
Definitely a good message for people, whether they're interested in math or pretty much any other career.
Exactly. Well, the thing is that math is fun, and math is challenging in the sense that you have problems, no? But you see patterns, and then you're able to develop conjectures and then try to prove that they are that they are true, and that's the challenge is good. It's very good.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me this afternoon.
Sure, Evelyn. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for listening to the Lathisms podcast. It's produced by me, Evelyn Lamb, and made possible by a Tensor Summa grant from the Mathematical Association of America. Our music is Volvere by La Floresta. Lathisms is an initiative to celebrate the accomplishments of Hispanic and Latinx mathematicians. It was founded in 2016 by Alexander Diaz-Lopez, Pamela Harris, Alicia Prieto Langarica, and Gabriel Sosa. You can find more information about the project at lathisms.org. That's LATHISMS.org. Join us next time to hear from another inspiring mathematician.